pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. First item of business is approval of the May 18th study session minutes and minutes of the May 22nd special session.
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, public comments. Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 1 on the old business. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the new laptop for police cars. And we have our expert here.
So, I don't know if you guys know, the police cars are old laptops, they're laptops that we're currently using are becoming very slow. And such a point that they actually are almost non-functional. So if you want to get the new laptops, I went over all these numbers with Turner.
Jared, I'm sorry, I can't hear you over here, man. Talking good here.
So basically, it just comes down to some fact that I discussed this with Mr. Turner, so that way we could actually get a decent laptop that his officers would be okay with and that he was okay with. These are the individual items that we actually came up with, and we were just trying to take the tool for probably 4 of them. This price tag you see on there is for 1 per, and that's 1 full setup, including time.
Is there a markup on these?
No.
I see this almost identical laptop on Amazon, for $300 cheaper.
Okay. We're getting them through ASI.
We need 4, right?
4 total, yes, sir.
So if we buy those from Amazon, it's a laptop. One laptop.
That's what I think.
Is that the install software, is there stuff on there? I mean, if you get point of
It's got all the stuff that Microsoft automatically deploys with all their laptops. A lot of it you just need to get stuff installed as part of that.
The other thing that I would note is that I'm not familiar with the item that you're seeing on Amazon, but the specification does have Windows 11 Professional, which allows it to be connected to the network.
Yeah, this has Windows 11.
Okay, go.
Well, that was, yeah, we're getting 4 copies, so there's, might be good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can, I mean, you guys utilize vendors are, I didn't know which one, that information, if they could pass that on to you or us.
If he's got a cheaper price, I'll give you some digging on Amazon to find it, and then just work directly from Amazon. So that works that, as long as they get what they need, I can sort of find it. I'm not worried about, minus or less or anything like that. I just want to make sure.
So do we want to, I mean, would you approve 1 for proof of concept that you can get the material and what have you, or do you want to wait and make sure you can get?
You want to look at this?
So it's actually got less memory and a much smaller hard drive. So the ones we're quoting actually have 16 gigs of memory and a 500 gigabyte hard drive.
Do we need a hard drive that big?
That's questionable. It's depending on if they have to take an download video or anything like that from any of the offsite locations. So if they go and pick up evidence, that's the only reason we're looking at 500 gigabytes. But the 16 gigs, it would be highly recommended.
Just curious.
And do they currently have the rugged case now?
Yeah,
Does that one not?
No, they
No,
don't.
like what we have, would that not work with the new laptop?
That would not work with the laptops now.
Okay, different.
The only part that will work with this new setup would be the current base part of the stand. Everything else pretty much from here on out, so.
Okay.
Because their old MDTs, the current stands they have, their MDTs is model specific,
Okay.
so.
Makes sense.
And right now, their current MBTs, they got 2 traditional laptops with no protective case, like the rugged case, and then they've got one tough book.
Yes.
But that's even older than the 2 laptops that they have that is just slow or running.
Is there a motion to proceed?
Does this come out of, can we see which versions?
The lease budget.
I mean, we need the,
Downstream from the general fund, but that's where it's coming.
we need the laptops, right? So,
Yeah.
I make a motion that we purchase what we need from the laptops.
My concern was just with the new chief coming in and being part of the purchases of everything that's coming in. That would be my only concern. But if you guys on the board want to do it now, it's up to you. But we're tonight going to be bringing them in, and I'd just like to, I thought it'd be good if he was part of that purchase.
I disagree with that.
My question for Mr. Turner, if these are the ones that he would select if he was the chief or something of that nature.
Yes, if I was, the decision maker.
You're comfortable with
Yeah,
what-
I am.
Okay.
We're at a point with the current MVTs that we've lived them along as long as we can. They're no
Right.
longer updatable.
And what is the
It is
turnaround
that.
time to get these here and then they're being
Should be able to be installed in about a week and a half.
week and a half? So the longer we wait, the farther down the road it takes to get one in.
And the other might be is approve it pending the approval of the new chief, because they can start hopefully in the next 2 weeks. Based on
But
when
that's, we're still waiting, we're 3 weeks or 3.5 weeks out.
That'll be a lot. What we need.
Before we get a motion and no, there's a motion and no second at this
There's a
point.
motion on the floor.
Yes.
One second.
This is
Any
the purchase
additional
one,
discussion?
the one's right here, right?
I think
Yeah, that is the first first.
that's the price for one that he times 4.
But your motion is for 4 or one?
Well, that's your motion, that's your motion for all 4.
That was not my motion.
Oh,
I have a motion for all 4.
My second is for all 4.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
No problem.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries. We're on our way to the community. Next up, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding hiring a new employee for the park department. I'll turn it over to Mr. Wolcott, who's our park liaison.
Yeah, they've got somebody, and he's already put in an application with Joe. I just went back and talked to the park board director, and she said that she wants this done tonight. So and I asked her if we do this pending his background check, can we go ahead and okay to hire this guy? Because she needs it done.
And they'll be doing what, mowing? and-
She knows him too, she vouches for him, plus he's already got Zap in there, and showed she was okay with the background check. And if you wanna say his name,
Mr. Napoleon.
no, that's where he's from, he's from Illinois.
Ash O'Corn.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what she's requesting. And all the money, all that, his wages and everything's coming out of park board money, not general fund.
Yes, Steve.
FYI, Sergeant Turner can do a background check within about 24 hours if need be.
Okay,
If
thank you,
even that, so.
thank you.
Make a motion pending the background check to hire this individual.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Looks like park board got their meeting going. Next up, I see Mr. Keith here, so presentation by the Mike Keith Insurance.
Yes, I'm going to have Christian DeLozier make a presentation. He made it last year. He's got handouts for everybody, prepared to answer any questions you might have.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your time again this year. We've put together 2 different packets. We put together an executive summary, which really streamlines the process, but I've got full proposals if you guys want to go page by page. It's up to you. Most of our clients are liking these executive summaries. We can start here if you'd like, and if you want more detail, then we can move on from that. For those of you that don't remember, I've been with the firm for 20 years now, going on 21 in August. I've spent the last 13 years in our public entity department. Who else needs a copy over here? Okay. So before we get into the details of this proposal, I want to point out to you that we are recommending the renewal with your current company, which is called Star Insurance Company. You've been with this, we've represented the city of Buckner since 2019. When we took over your account, your insurance expiration was $129,000. The year before that, you all paid $107,000. And if I remember right, when we won the bid to represent you in 2019, I think we were competing against $150,000 renewal from your prior carrier. Since then, we've remarketed your account. In 2019, we won your business. Star, the company that you're with, was the most competitive. We went to MoPerm, Trident, EMC, and Star was the best. In 2021, we took another look on your behalf. We're not trying to beat the marketplace down, but we were just checking because we'd seen a little bit of movement. Our firm specializes in public entity business, so when we see any kind of movement in the marketplace, we go ahead and proactively look on your behalf, so you don't need to tell us. And hopefully there's not any big surprises when we show up for renewal time. But in 2021, we went out to 2 other companies, and Star was still the best. Since you've been with Star, since 2019, we've had 5 liability claims and 1 auto claim. Now, I don't know the severity of those. I just have a very basic sheet on what they were. But I think they've done a good job for you guys. I think Joe's been very happy with them too. So we'll jump into the proposal. You can see the far left column is going to be all the different categories of coverage. The middle column is going to be the expiring premium the expiring premiums, and then the right column is going to be the renewal premiums. The 2 areas where you're going to see the biggest increase is going to be in the property, because we live in a wind and hail state. So the rates on property across the country really are going up. I don't know if anybody watched the news and saw that State Farm pulled out of California because they can't make any money in California. The other line is going to be in the general liability. So the general liability, we believe there's some rate there. They take a rate increase, but that's also based on exposures. So as your expenditures increase, so does your exposure, and so does the premium that follows suit. When we go down the line, you can see last year we had $10,800,514 at the very top column, going across the sheet on property. Total insured value, $10,855,17. That stayed the same this year. That might be something that we want to look at, but the company didn't impose an automatic inflation. But it's probably a good idea that I come up here and visit with Joe and tour the facilities and make sure that we have everything in line. Because building values over the last couple of years, as you all know, has been crazy. There aren't any other big changes there. You'll see that column stay pretty much the same. One thing I want to point out is the deductible. You guys still have a $1,000 deductible, which is the lowest in the marketplace. What we're seeing a lot of the companies go to is a higher wind and hail deductible. Many of the companies are going to a $25,000 wind or hail deductible. I would suspect Star at some point will do that. But while we can take advantage of a $1,000 deductible, it's probably a good deal for you guys. If you wanted to look at higher deductibles, I don't think there would be a dollar for dollar savings. So if you wanted to look at a $5,000 deductible, I don't think that's going to save you $4,000 in premium. But it's something that we could look at. If you look at the next column, inland marine, you'll see the coverage and the premium stayed the same. General liability, the liability limits all stayed the same. The premium went up a little bit. But again, some of that's due to rate and some of that's due to exposure. As your expenditures increase, so does the liability.
And there was a question earlier, and I couldn't remember the exact answer, but what exactly is inland marine?
Inland marine is anything that's going to move around. So anything that goes out throughout the city. So when
Police
we-
cars, lawnmowers.
Yes, right. So when we talk about property coverage, there's buildings, there's contents, and the contents of the business personal property is anything that stays in this building or within 100 feet of the building is standard. But then anything that goes and travels outside of that 100-foot perimeter, we need to insure on an inland marine. It's old terminology. It goes back to when we were coming over here on wood chips. They knew what fire insurance was. They knew what marine coverage was, cargo marine, while it's in a boat, but they didn't know what to call it once it landed on shore. So they called it inland marine.
Thank you.
True question.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So employee benefits liability, the premium went up just very slightly. It's a general liability coverage. If you guys have an employee benefits plan, we bring on a new employee, we're taking money out of their check each week or every 2 weeks, or we forget to get them enrolled. When do we find out? After they've had an accident, they go to the hospital, oops, that's a liability coverage. Your public officials, you'll see the liability and the premium stay the same. Employment practices, the coverages and the premium stay the same. Your law enforcement liability, you'll see the premium stay the same. Somebody knock on wood around here, because we've seen that be challenging across the state. The auto liability, you've got 9 units, that went up just very slightly. Again, that's another one that we've seen more increases because the cost of vehicles continues to go up, repairs continue to go up, medical expenses, legal fees. The cyber liability that's included, it's baked into this program, you cannot exclude it. It's $100,000. It will scratch the surface if you guys actually have a cyber event, but it's better than nothing. If you guys want to look at full-blown cyber policy, the application is about, well, let me back up. 3 years ago, there was about 3 questions. Now there's 3 pages of questions. It's gotten very detailed. You got to have multi-factor authentication, endpoint detection, quite a bit of security to qualify for a better policy, but this is baked in, so you've automatically got it. And then at the very bottom, you'll see there's participation fee if you've had it every year since you've done the STAR, and then the optional terrorism. It's a percentage of the overall premium, small percentage, $250. So you can see last year's premium, you can see this year's premium. It's up 11.4%, and the 2 biggest areas are in the general liability and property. Again, we looked historically, and we think that the numbers are good based on what your historical premiums have been and when we've gone out to market on your behalf. If you want to flip to the next page, this is a list of all of your properties. And we typically go through this with Joe every year and review these. But if anybody would like to go through them in more detail, we'd be happy to come up here and set a separate meeting to do that.
Is the value on that, like I see the sewage treatment plant says 1.5 million, but if it gets blown down and it costs 10 million to put back, how much coverage is there on that?
1.5 million. This is on a scheduled basis. Hang on 1 second. Let me look at your proposal real quick. Have you got a recent bid on it?
But we're just not a height, but yeah, we're looking to upgrade.
Okay, so if you're looking to.
Because we couldn't build another one of those. It wouldn't be.
It's on our long-term department west. Infrastructure plan.
Yes, this is on a scheduled basis. So while your total insured value is $10,800,517, It's on a scheduled basis. So each one of those items on there has a limit that we've chosen. And that's the maximum that we can pay in the event of a loss. If you wanted to look at a blanket limit, we could request that from the insurance carrier. They're gonna want us to have 100% of value, which right now you are only required to carry 80% value. But in your scenario, we would need to carry $10 million of coverage on there. We couldn't carry $1 million, have $10 million for the whole rest of the city, and then have a big loss over here and use the whole bucket. They won't let us do that. So if you want $10 million there of coverage, we need to insure it for $10 million, and you've got to pay a premium on $10 million. When is that project?
Hopefully this fall, if everything goes well.
Okay, so we've got a great relationship with Joe. He calls us every time you guys have something going on. So I would expect to hear a call from him.
Okay.
And then there will be a builder's risk that either the contractor that's doing that build out for you will carry, or we can help you with that project. Sometimes we encourage the client, if you're calling J.E. Dunn, no problem. Or a huge contractor like that specializes in water utilities, they've probably got the right kind of builder's risk. But if you bid it out and you end up going with the lowest bid contractor, we might suggest you carry the builder's risk yourself. That way you've got control over it. You know the insurance premiums get paid. You know what you bought. When you buy it, let somebody else buy it for you, you don't really know what they purchased it.
And they are looking at multiple options, hopefully a less expensive option, but
Well, hopefully the J.E. Dunns of the world will come in very competitive. But if you want to look at that builder's risk option, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
So that was the property schedule. The next page is going to be your inland marine schedule. Again, these are the items that circulate throughout the city on a daily basis. Now, where we've been talking about replacement costs of your buildings, this is going to be more of a market value. So these values are going to depreciate a little bit over time. Now, the last few years, all used stuff has held its value very well, but over time, you might want to look at these and adjust them. But we show no changes on that page. If you want to go to the next page, this is the auto fleet. You guys are carrying 500 comp and 500 collision deductibles, which are on the lower side. So if you wanted to take on a little bit more risk, again, I don't think you'd save $500 per unit by taking a $1,000 collision deductible. But if you were going to try to preserve your loss ratio by taking on a little bit more of the risk yourself, that would be something that we could look at, save you a little bit of money there. It's more of a long-term risk management philosophy than it is an immediate savings philosophy. And that should conclude the presentation based on the executive summary. Does anybody have any interest in going through the 15-page proposal?
They did, it was like they're like that.
Okay. Most of our clients enjoy this executive summary. That's what you guys are here to do, to make decisions, and you want to look at, numbers, details. Are there any questions about the renewal proposal as it's been presented?
You need this, well, I did see there was something we signed, so I think we would need to decide whether or not to accept the terrorism.
Correct.
Piece.
Correct.
And then just a motion to approve as presented.
Yes. If there are no other questions, I would present this for your approval, including the terrorism. You included it last year. You bought it last year.
Yes.
Again, I think that's such a small amount for the terrorism.
Yeah, exactly, $250.
It's not much.
$53, I think, prior year.
So I'll make a motion to approve and present.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
I need your signature, and then I'll leave two invoices, one that keeps one thing.
Christopher's office, you came out of.
Came out of the Clinton office today. Typically, my office has 4 wheels, it's sitting right out front. All the yes. Very good. Thank you all very much, we appreciate your business.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Mauer. Hereby.
Oh, I'm sorry. We just need a motion.
You just do it so well.
Just need a motion to go into closed session for purposes of executive session pursuant to Missouri Revised Statutes, section 610.021, section 1, to discuss litigation, and 3, to discuss personnel. Someone wants to make that motion? Well, we need a roll call. So, Alderman Jones?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I don't have my class. Well, I knew that, but I was going to do the Alderman Ross? Aye. Thank you. Alderman Nolly?
Oh.
Alderman Norris?
Hi.
Alderman Walcott? 5-0?
Do we need a motion to suspend or?
No, just because we're just going to a closed session.
Okay.
So that's all we need.
Okay, then it looks like it passed, and we'll go to the mayor's office. Park board's got the other one. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, next up, elected officials' comments.
I just wanted to thank Public Works for getting the millings in the alleyway from the projects, really appreciate that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so, I know everybody's very grateful, because it's getting to where axles were being dragged, so.
I do have a question for Brenda.
Yep.
What is the time frame now over on Jefferson, or do we have one?
It should be done, yeah, we're trying to finish up today, but it'll be tomorrow, before noon, they said. So just trying to get that busted out as quick as possible.
Sweet.
And I believe there was a $6,000 change order on that because of there was a water line or something going through a driveway, and we had to.
I think there was a manhole in it, right?
There was 2 manholes and 2 different driveways.
Yeah, I was thinking that was all fouled up.
There's one in my daughter's driveway too.
Sweet.
It's weird how they did that years ago. Must have been just a gravel driveway years ago.
Right.
We're still on hold with water meters because of the,
Zenner is trying to get their program updated because, I don't know if you know they were hacked.
yeah, right, that never
And
got resolved.
now they're trying to figure out what exactly happened. But until then,
Okay.
we are trying.
Well, appreciate everyone's patience as we work through the process. And it's kind of hopefully a moment of levity. A priest, a minister, and a rabbit walk into a blood bank. And the phlebotomist asks them if they know what they are. And the rabbit says, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty certain I'm a typo. Taking a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good evening, folks.
Is this gonna be a weekly thing or a bi-monthly thing?
Work all the time.